Right, hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the new ring characters. We have Ring Rodion as well as Ring Meursault. These characters are basically the next pieces of the puzzle for the ring identities, and they are quite essential because of their access to these very powerful debuffs over here. So if you look at this Ring Rodion over here, she is the paid character. She's going to be able to get additional bonuses by having the ring students with her, and the students are basically the Fauvist as well as the Meursault. Alright, so these are very decent buffs, offense level up and defense level up, but it's only one, so it's not the craziest. The real reason why this character is basically core for the Nurse Father, Honglu, and all the other rings is because of all the debuffs that they can apply. They essentially have red buff, they have a blue debuff, and they have a rainbow debuff. I like to call them Red Claw, Blue Claw, and Rainbow Claw. Then we have the palette. The palette basically will give you a lot of these random debuffs over here, but notably will buff all ring-focused damage, as well as all of the Fauvism schools damage will be increased by more. So 20% for the Fauvism people, while it only increases this damage by 10% only for the rest of the ring characters, right? Because Corporism and Fauvism hate each other, essentially. Okay, then besides that, you can get more of these stacks here by getting more claws on the target, which will improve the damage dealt by the entire ring association, right? I guess the ring faction. Okay, at turn end you also get a buff which allows you to apply more sinking count, more bleed count, and more bleeding and sinking potency as long as the enemies have a lot of claws on them, right? The way to get this buff is by inflicting the special status multiple times, using your enhanced defense skill twice, using your enhanced skill tree once, and for her resonance, she has a very insane resonance. It's basically +1 to all claws and basically the Rainbow Claw as well, right? Just a very powerful passive. As long as you have 2 Lust Resonance every single turn, this character is basically going to play itself. Very strong character. For skill 1, you have the Red Claw. For skill 2, you have Red Claw, Blue Claw. Notably, it's 3 Blue Claw, right? And then for the skill 3, you have Red Claw, Blue Claw. Alright, very powerful stuff. So these debuffs, they disappear on turn end, which is very good. If they disappear on hit, it will be very bad, right? But basically these are +1 negative effects that last very long and are going to give you a tremendous amount of boost to your conditions, because as you can see, a lot of these characters have need for 5 or 6 types of negative effects, and this is going to count each one of them as +1. Very strong stuff. But one thing to note is that this character, as you can see, is not a red applier. One red only, right? Even with the +2 here, it's 2, right? So it's going to be 2 red and 2 red over here. But one thing you might have missed is that the palette, when it ends, right, it will halve all the red and blue. So the red and blue will decay by 1, and it will lose half of the stacks also. So the Red Claw is going to disappear if you just rely on the Rodion to basically go and be the only applier. That's where the Meursault comes in. Meursault is the red applier, Rodion is the blue applier. Alright, so one is the red painter, one's the blue painter. This character here will basically be a very Unga Bunga character. A very strong character. Apply Red Claw, apply Blue Claw, and get a lot of buffs and stuff. And apply the Rainbow Claw for +1 negative effects. And negative effects will give them even more coin power. You see, you need 2, 4, 6, right? You need 2, 4, 6 to get the maximum coin power here. And your skill tree also requires you to have 6 negative effects to enhance yourself. And then you get a bunch of damage multipliers over here, bunch of damage multipliers over here, and you spread the Rainbow Claw to every single enemy that you hit over here. Right? Very strong character with tremendous amounts of damage output. And now notably, the defense skill is also very strong. The defense skill is like having a extra skill 2, right? The trimming the medium here will transform itself if you do not have this buff, and if the target has 3 negative effects, then you will critique the enemy, right? Once you critique them, you will reuse your coin. You reuse it once for every 3 types of negative effects, and it will have a 70% damage total, and you can reuse this twice, which means it becomes a 4, 8, 12. Very strong damage output actually, right? And you also apply all your claws over here and your debuffs over here. Very good skill. But the problem is that you can't spam this. It has a limiter. The limiter is basically this reflection here. This reflection seems to be something that they are leaning towards by basically adding a stopgap. Because if you look at, for example, Fauvist is like, wow, guard skill. Now if you guard spam on this Rodion over here, it's not going to do that much. you just get your regular guard skill over here, right? So you want to kind of rotate this every like 2 turns to be very optimal. And when you do that, you must make sure that you at least have 6 debuffs on the target so you can get the maximum amount of damage. Preferably, if you don't have it, then never mind, just use 1 time, it's still okay, right? But you need to use it 3 times if you want to get the Rainbow Claw to be applied over here, right? So the character's flow is very simple. Ooga booga, like crazy, just ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga. Always make sure you have Blast Resonance. And then once the enemy has 6 debuffs, you can activate your defense skill in exchange for the skill 1. Alright, always use the skill 2 because the skill 2 is very, very valuable for applying the Rainbow Claw over here and has very good coin power here, right? So it's just very, very good stuff. So feel free to just keep defending every time, every like 2 turns, and then just spam this stuff here, and you basically are playing the character correctly. Now the problem with her is just that she's not really self-sufficient, right? She can only apply so many debuffs by herself because her Red Claw is not really the 100% uptime, right? That's where the Meursault kind of comes in. The Meursault is essentially the other piece of the puzzle, which is basically a character that will be only focused on Red Claw. This character only applies Red Claw. Red Claw, Red Claw, Red Claw, Red Claw. Once you have applied 10 Red Claws, you buff yourself, and this gives you more bleeding and sinking potency application. Rodion can critique this guy over here by giving him more damage and giving him also a SP gain whenever Rodion pops off and uses a reuse coin, right? For the Welling Inspiration over here, once he has this also, right, once he has that buff, he will also inflict one more Red Claw. So this guy is your Red Claw dispenser, right? That's all his purpose in life is, essentially. He only applies Red Claw, and that's all he does, right? Skill 1, nothing but Red Claw. Skill 2, nothing much, also mostly focused on Red Claw. And Skill 3, nothing much else, also focused on Red Claw, has a special effect here, where if you are low HP, if the target has 5 plus claws, or if you then you will use your coin tree additional time, and then you convert all the coins on this skill to unbreakable coins. So this is your Red Claw dispenser. Rodion is your Blue Claw dispenser. This character gets buffed by Rodion and will get a lot of SP also from being participant with the Rodion ID. For his defense skill, he kind of gets nothing much. It's just whatever. Right, so this character is essentially that kind of character, just a claw dispenser character, and if you run them together, you are getting a lot of good synergies between them, right? The other thing that's good also is that by adding this Meursault here, plus this Rodion here, you do lower the turn numbers for the closing time, which can give a lot of very major buffs to all of your other ring identities. So if you were having problems with clashing, once the closing time triggers, right, you all will be able to clash a lot better, right? Base attack skills will get +1 clash power and more speed and more damage also. Is just very, very good stuff, right? And this character also buffs the rest of the ring to do a lot of damage, so you get a very good synergy between this, and this over here. You can choose to swap out some of them if you want to, right? For example, there is notably going to be something like the Prince of La Mancha land over here, and if you lose the Red Claw, it's not the end of the world, because you gain something like Lust Fragility, which is universal for Lust, and La Mancha Land Parade, which makes the enemy take 10% damage from Lust skills. So even though you lose one of the Red Claws, which kind of sucks, it means you don't get the Fauvism buff, right? You still are able to get more damage output from the debuffs here, and notably those were debuffs. Lust Fragility is a debuff, negative effect, and the La Mancha Parade is also a debuff. So that's also +2 debuffs for your characters to enjoy also for the ring characters. So feel free to swap in between depending on which one you are more comfortable with, right? Or which one you have. Maybe you don't have this because it's, you don't want to go and get this Meursault, up to you, right? But essentially the team will basically look like this. You'll be this Kurokumo over here for mostly bleed count application, one of our best bleed count applications. You can just use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any of the variants over here, and then you also can use the Rodion over here. So that will be your big 7 over here. There are some other alternatives here that you can choose to go and use. You can, instead of using a ring, you can use the Otis over here if you want to drink more blood. You can use the Priest Gregor, you can use the Ring Yisang, you can use Unga Bunga, you can use Heathcliff also for the double whammy synergy over here. The bleeding team kind of has a lot of options, right? It's just dependent on what egos you're going to be planning to use, and also what kind of debuffs you're planning to apply. The reason why I put the Encore Ryoshu here is because it has good gaze and tremor hemorrhage, allowing you to do even more damage whenever you burst, right? And it's also just a very solid character that scales with the bleed over here. Okay, so it's a good character. It also is Ryoshu. Ryoshu has Contempt All. If you look at Meursault, Meursault also has the Yearning Makala. Yearning Makala is also on the Dawn over here. Both have special debuffs. Both are very nuking characters, right? The Nurse Father, you don't need to know him already. He's very strong, right? He just buffs all the other ring characters and just does a lot of damage. Same for the Faust. Enjoys a lot of the buffs, enjoys a lot of the bleed. bleed, blah blah blah. There's a tremendous amount of synergy here, and it's really up to you. This character here is bleed count as well as activation of the bleed over here. Right, it's just a tremendous amount of good stuff that you can stack together, and you can mix and match depending on what your heart feels like, honestly. Right, very good options over here for you to go and mix and match. So just very strong. The sinking team, you technically can shuffle in there because she does scale off of sinking also. The problem is that Rodion shares an identity, which is the Knight of Despair Rodion, which is very powerful for the sinking team. So I wouldn't say it's like a easy swap, right? It's like you would have to find lust somewhere also inside the sinking team. Otherwise, you would not be able to get the tremendous amount of sinking count, you know, from this character. This is literally the sinking count dispenser, and she's also very fast to scale. She just activates her defense twice or even once, and she's basically online already, right? So it's a very tough decision to swap this one out. I wouldn't say it's a very the right decision. I would say it's probably like oh, I just want to do it for the team, for a thematic reason. Then you want to go and do that, sure. Alright, but otherwise I don't think it's the proper reason to go and swap the character out. But yeah, this team here, very powerful, very fun. Lots of debuffing, very good control on your enemies, and also a very good damage amplification for the Lust gang in general. So just feel free to mix and match all these characters over here if you want to. They are very powerful, and they're very fun. Do note that the Rodion really does need to have the ring characters to help her apply those debuffs, because if she's by herself, she definitely cannot get the 6 debuffs. Alright, only in sinking team, where you can apply like butterfly, sinking count, blue sand, shoot fracture, then you can get a lot of debuffs. Or the bleeding team, which can apply all those debuffs that I mentioned, then you can get the 6 very easily. If you use them with a Tremor team, Tremor itself doesn't really have a lot of crazy debuffs. Same logic for the Ruptured team. It has a lot of death rights, but they're all on hit, so it's very unlikely that you'll be able to use that character in that team, and these characters don't scale with the status anyway, so there's no point, right? So yeah, these characters are kind of linked over here. The more Fauvist characters we get in the future, the more hybridized team we can use in the future, right? Technically, you can use a future maybe hybridized bleeding plus sinking team. Then your team will be able to take advantage of both of the ego gifts in the Mirror Dungeon. That seems to be a common theme in the future of this game, because of all the hybridized characters that they're releasing recently, right? So in the future, who knows? Maybe we'll get a hybridized ego gift. Hey, we use these characters plus these characters. Boom! Now we can get the ego for bleed and also get the ego for poise, right? So yeah, that's all I have for today. These characters are pretty strong. I would recommend to go and get them, but only dispense them. Don't go and pull them, because I'd rather you save your lunacy for Walpurgis Night. But anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.